I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching and talking to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. That ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his methodology, really. Dream be persistent, face fears, see change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day.
PDK.
Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education. Leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching and talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers, 50 to 80%. They ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream be persistent, face fears, see change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin.
Gonna be powerful. Getting in there. Great day, leaders. Welcome to the Empowerment Zone, you all. Week 56, volume 2, number 14. Let's go! I'm so excited, you all. This is our first Saturday. We did change to Saturday. We're going to roll with Saturday for a while. Our first 55 professional developments were on Sundays at the same time, but we are switching over to Saturday currently. So we're going to keep it right here at 1 PST, 3 CST, 4 EST for right now. That may, I'm thinking about perhaps moving that up in the future to about 12, but we're going to look at that. And for now, it's at 1 o'clock, you all. This is our first Saturday off the rip. Definitely appreciative and thankful for those that continue to check us out every single week. We try to bring the energy. We try to bring the development. We bring what you need so that you can implement it and be great at what you do as educators in the field of education. Let's go, y'all. I'm so hyped. I'm excited. Thank you again. As always, we got to think about everything that's going on in the world, y'all. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and we got to stay focused on what it is that we're working toward for our communities, whether it's our school community, whether it's your home community, whatever it is. But we got to stay focused and we got to stay planted in the work. We can't allow outside distractions to throw us off of focus. I talk about that quite a bit, you all, but that's very, very important. A couple of things I definitely want to bring to your mind before we get started into it, you all. Again, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I want to continue to acknowledge that until the month is over. And even after the month is over, we got to realize it's not just that month. Domestic Violence Awareness Month also still prevalent right now. Always need to be aware of what's going on. And of course, we want to continue to acknowledge our principles. Happy National Principal Month. You all, I've been in that seat, so I know what you're going through. I know how it is. And sometimes I think the principals are somewhat like men in lives. That's sometimes the last to be acknowledged. But principals do a lot of work behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes also. But there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than you would probably expect. Also, make sure you definitely keep up with me on the social media platforms. Been putting out different stuff here lately. Make sure you're doing that as well. Definitely thank you for all of that type of support. Every like, every time you let me know that I'm hitting a nerve or that I'm getting you some information that's accessible and that's helpful to you. That makes a difference for me too. That keeps me going, keeps me inspired to continue to give. And that's what it's all about for me. Just give. The give back is something major for me. And I just love being able to do this, being able to see you all each and every week. You all want to get ready to get into some of what we want to talk about today. And before we do, of course, we know the topic is rallying the troops for high performance and making that impact against odds, against all the odds. Because look, y'all, you got to know that the grind is endless, so we must be relentless. The grind is endless, so we must be relentless. We must be constantly working toward our goals, constantly working toward our vision, constantly pulling people into the vision so that you can bring it into fruition. The grind is endless, so you must be relentless. And when you think about the grind being endless, you got to understand that means it's going to take complete focus. It's going to take all of your energy. It's going to take you putting all of you into this purpose, into this reason for the season, this reason that you're grinding. The grind is endless, so you must be relentless. First off, you got to know that there's purpose in the grind. You grinding for a reason. The work constantly keeps coming back. It constantly does a 360. We constantly look at the data. We constantly reshape our processes for developing teachers. We constantly look at the way that we're leading schools, right? So your purpose in that grind is also endless. It's constantly reinventing itself. You got to constantly and stay ready to think ready. You got to stay ready to be ready. Meaning that you can't just up and think that it's just going to happen because I'm me. It's just going to happen just because I was there. No. You got to put some pride in it. You got to put some commitment in it. You got to put some time, some work. All that is going to help you understand and push forward this grind, because the grind doesn't end, but you got to still remain relentless. The grind doesn't end, but also remember that neither does your impact. Neither does your influence. So when things are tough, when things are not going how you want them to go, guess what? You got to reshape yourself, revitalize that energy, get back to it and stay in it. Stay focused, stay moving toward those goals that you know you have for yourself, for your team, for your students, for your school, for your community, and so forth and so forth. The grind is endless. Therefore, you must be relentless at all times. At all times. You can't afford to get down and out to the point where you're not doing the work. Yeah, sure enough, we're human. There's going to be some points where it's not going like we want it to be, like we think it should be going. But at the same time, guess what? You can't stop. You can't stop. You got to keep pushing it out. You got to keep reinventing the wheel. Keep doing things to enhance what's already going on. Keep reevaluating those processes so you can take away what's not working and add it into what you needed to do. So when we think about that, you all, I just want to prelude you in with that, because I feel like that's really, really important to understand that the grind is endless. You're going to always be starting over. Each year you're starting over. But guess what? You got to be relentless in your efforts. We can't use those as excuses not to get it done. We can't use those as excuses not to get it done. So with that in mind, I want to definitely move on. Let me know where you're streaming in from. If you have not already, definitely sign in into the chat. Let us know. I know that this is our first Saturday, so I know it's going to take a little bit of time for people to get adjusted to the new time or the new date. But yeah, we're going to definitely keep it here for a little while to see how it works out. So we thank you all for being here. Now, as we get ready to get into the conversation for today, tonight's professional development, or today's professional development. And you see the topic rolling across the screen now. Rallying the troops for high performance. Making impact against the odds. Making impact against the odds. That's the first thing we got to look at, because the odds say that your schools might not improve. The odds say that your students are not scoring at highly proficient levels. Some schools we do, but a lot of schools are struggling right now. And especially with COVID and the passing of the pandemic, that's kind of expected. So we got to constantly do things now to ensure that we're putting people, that's students and teachers, in positions where they can be successful and do what they need to do inside of those school buildings. So when you think about rallying the troops for high performance, that's whether you are a high performer or a low performance school, whether you're struggling and you got an F school, or whether you're an A school, you still want to rally the troops to remain high performing or to reach for that high performance status, and against all odds. And one of the corresponding beliefs that's going to lead this professional development today, you got to amp up your interaction. You got to amp up your interaction. Even if you're not social as a leader, you have to be able to socialize. You have to be able to be relatable. You have to be able to be reliable, dependable, intentional in your acts, and purposeful in creating a high-performing school culture. Culture is how you live in your space every single day. So when we think about that, we want our teachers to interact with students. We want to be able to hear what they have to say in reflection time. We want them to be able to contribute or collaborate. But in doing so, if we want other people to be interactive, guess what? As a leader, you got to make sure you're exemplifying the interactivity. Amp up the interaction with your staff members, with your team members, with your students. Amp up the interaction. To get things done, we have to work together. We have to collaborate. We work with and through other people. So if I want to set up a collaborative environment using collaborative approaches, I need to be the epitome of what collaboration looks like. I need to be the epitome of what collaboration looks like. So amp up your interaction with all people, okay? With all your people that are in your systems, that are in your programs, that are on your teams, that are in your communities, right? Amp up the interaction. That's the first thing we do. And this is going to lead up to something, the other things that you need to do in order to make sure your environment is high performing. When you move on to that data analysis piece, this is the second part, amp up your interaction. But data analysis has to be for breakdown and understanding. It's got to be for breakdown and understanding. You say, Joe, what are you talking about? I can't just throw the data out there and everyone understand where we're going with the data. No. You got to be able to break it down across 3 levels. 3 levels for it to mean anything. And it starts with the interaction, because we can't talk about the data if we're not interacting. So when I think about breaking down the data across 3 levels, that means we're saying, now, first off, district level has to understand how it's going to impact the school. The school has to understand how it's going to impact the teachers, and the teachers have to understand how the data impacts their students. And guess what? If you're having trouble understanding it, reading it, pulling out the strengths, the weaknesses, the trends in the data, it's going to be a problem to break it down across those 3 levels. So it's important to break it down in an understanding way where people can actually act on the data, where they can act on the data. See, data, me just having it in a ledger, that's no good for me. True enough, that's my legend, but that's not good enough for it to be just in the ledger. I've got to be able to decipher what's in that data and act on it, provide differentiated instruction, provide training to teachers where I see areas of weakness in the data. And that gets us to our third thing, professional development that means something. Now, professional development that means something. Okay, you got to provide professional development that aligns with what you're wanting to do. And I have a pet peeve, and I hear leaders and teachers talk about it, district level as well, talk about it all the time. Well, I'm not going to train someone who's leaving the district. Or teachers may say, I'm not going to try this instructional practice because I'm leaving. No, that's so selfish as an educator, right? That's so selfish as an educator. We have to get out of that mindset, because why would I not train you and you're here teaching our students, even if you decide to go somewhere else? Because as an educator, as a leader, I know that no matter what, I'm gonna have to retrain anyway. So if I was to train you and you get the knowledge and you go somewhere else and use it for children, as a leader, that's still a win. As a leader, that's still a win. I'm on my live stream, Dad. I'll call you right back. So that's a win. Okay, that's a win if you're a leader. All right. So again, thinking about providing professional development that wins. All right, that's very, very important. And you got to constantly be thinking about that, because you got to constantly develop your people. Development is something that comes on the outside. You can't develop solely or wholly from within. In order to illustrate the development, it has to come out. It has to be shown, right? So very, very important in saying that as well. So that's 3 things, right? I'm going to give you about 5 today, and we're going to get out of here today. The next thing is that feedback should encourage your people. And you want to use feedback that encourages the ABCs. Let me break this down. Use feedback that encourages, that promotes, that pushes, that inspires, that creates an atmosphere where I feel like I can grow and be great. That's the type of feedback you want to give. And that type of feedback is going to be compounded of what I call the ABCs: accountability, belongingness, and collaboration. So if I'm having feedback conversations with teachers, students, or what have you, I want to be able to talk about the accountability piece, why this is important to what we do, why it's important for us to continue doing it, and what it does for us as individuals as well as us as a whole. That's the accountability piece. Then I want to talk from a belonging standpoint, because I need to know how I can support you, how I can make sure that I'm doing what's best for you, so that you can then be held accountable. Because you don't want to be held accountable if you don't feel like you belong. That's a bar. I hope y'all heard it. You don't want to be held accountable if you don't feel like you belong. So you want to go through those ABCs in your feedback conversation: accountability, belongingness, and then the C is collaboration. Now I want to talk about how are we working with and through other people to make this information even greater, to make sure we're getting what we need to get out of the information. Because remember that knowledge, us just having it, that's nothing. It's the application of that knowledge. So what are we doing to ensure that we're working with everyone in our school community to get this knowledge out? Ooh-wee. Y'all, we on fire today. I hope someone is listening. Definitely appreciate Mrs. Lofton. Keep the grind alive. Definitely keeping the grind alive. We're going to do that there. And another thing that we want to talk about, when you talk about, after you talk about that feedback piece, now you're talking about your informal observations. You're talking about informal observations often. You're talking about doing them often. And I'm going to break this down even further to you because I know we got leaders and teachers who are listening. It's hard to graduate or to move to a powerful peer evaluation or peer review or peer observation program if we haven't already established a great informal walkthrough program between the administrators and the teachers. And the only way to do that is to make it an action, is to do it and to be active and to give feedback that requires you to meet in loops, meaning that you want to have feedback loops. Now, me giving you information is one thing, but me coming back and me talking to you about it within a particular interval or time frame or in increments, that's going to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do within the feedback loop. Because me giving you information but never circling back to ensure that you have the information, that you're able to use the information, and for me to be able to look or observe you using the information, that's a problem. All right, that's a problem. So understand that it's really, really important to make sure you're getting that proper feedback on those observations. So when you think about informal observations, of course, you want to make them regular, as I just stated. You want to have those norms in place. And within the observation, you want to be able to also tag in that data piece. Bring in that data piece because we talked about data analysis, right? Being for breakdown and for understanding. Another way that you can help do that is to make sure that that data is being used on a daily basis. Integrated into your daily practices. Through social media this week, I had what you call a fireside chimney chat, in which I gave 3 or 4 different ways in which you can actually bring the data into your space every single day, where it becomes habit, where it's something that you're looking at and observing all the time, and it's a part of the way we live in our school. The data becomes a culture. So does the observations, the informal walkthroughs. All of that's a part of it as well. That ties into how you're able to give your feedback, right? And it also ties into your professional development. All of it ties together. That's just a few quick ways in which you can rally the troops, because I know that we've got teams, we've got educators, we've got schools that are in trouble. You already know you it's only about to be November, so it's still October, but you having big problems and you don't see them getting any better. Guess what? It's time to rally the troops. And if you're a part of a team that's not being rallied, you got to individually rally yourself. You got to get centered. Remember, the grind is endless. So you've got to be relentless. And we talked about amping up that interaction. We talked about amping up that interaction in order to rally the troops. I've got to connect with you as a leader, as a teacher. I've got to connect with my students if I want them to grow, if I want them to excel. So amp up the interaction. That's going to be the first thing that you need to do in order to rally the troops. When you're talking about bringing a team together to push them ahead to greater levels that they did not see for themselves, but you knew were possible from the very, very beginning. So you kept going. You kept being relentless. You kept putting systems in place. You got to love this. Huh? You got to love what you're doing as an educator. So amp up the interaction. Use professional development that means something, right? Train your people regardless of whether you think they're going to leave or not. Because guess what? You don't think while you're saying, I don't think, or I don't know if this person is going to leave, that the people that are planning to stay don't hear this conversation. So they're saying to themselves, so you're not going to train us because you think such and such is going to leave. But you want all of them to work toward the common goal. Yeah, we got to rethink some things. We got to rethink some things. And if we truly, truly, truly want our students to succeed, these are some of the things that we're going to rethink. Amp up the interaction, provide professional development that means something. Use feedback that encourages the person, but also encourages the ABCs. You got to encourage accountability. You got to encourage belongingness, encourage collaboration. If we haven't been living this way in this space, and I want this to become a part of the culture, it's something that I must encourage every single day, every time I have the chance. Feedback that encourages, right? Do observations or informal observations very often. Don't wait till the end. Don't wait till this formal observation time. Now I'm trying to correct you on something that we could have already discussed in informal observations, that I should have already noted from me being an instructional leader, or for me being a teacher who gets an opportunity to observe other rooms, because I know that that's a part of my growth. So all of that is crucial and very, very important, you all. And then, of course, data. The data analysis. The data analysis for breakdown and understanding piece, y'all. That's powerful, you all. That's powerful. And to add to that, remember to think of some ways in which you can integrate data daily. As a teacher, or as an administrator, you want to encourage your teachers. And as a teacher, you will want to do this anyway. You want to have those mini data chats. And think about this. If I'm having a data chat with the student, 2 to 3 students every single day, and then we come back and we loop that around, have a feedback loop with them in a month or 2 months after I've gotten a chance to speak to all of my other students, just think about the power of that type of consistency. Think about the power of constantly revisiting this conversation with students. And like I said, as an administrator, you may not be able to always facilitate those conversations, but you can ensure that they're getting done. You can put in systems to track this type of communication. So think about all those things when you get ready to rally your troops, because guess what? You weren't born to lose. You were born to win. You were born to do incredible things. And it's time. The time is now. So don't wait until March, April, talking about rallying the troops, talking about getting ready for state assessments. No. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you're constantly preparing and you constantly doing what you need to do, you already are there. You already are where you need to be. So you got to pay it forward. You got to pay the work forward. We talk about delayed gratification. That's what it is. That's what it equates to, because when we sign up to teach, when we sign up to educate, every year you're starting over. Every year you got a new roster, a new set of students, and you have to pay it forward. The results never come until the end of each year. We don't take state assessments generally until the spring. Sometimes you might take them in the fall if you're on a block schedule, right? I understand all of that. But even in those cases, you got to pay the work forward. It's a delayed gratification. Same thing in our homes, in our lives, in our spirits. You got to work 9 times out of 10 for a long time until something comes into fruition. And here we're talking about putting that work in across 9 months, because tests come back in the spring, and then you get ready, you do it again, then your school either goes up or the scores drop and your rating goes down. But if you don't pay it forward, if you don't do these things right now, if you don't rally the troops right now, you already know what it's going to look like at the end. So with that being said, you all, I want to, man, woo, I'm feeling good today, you all. Moving to Saturday, it's a stretch for me. It's a day of moving earlier, having the idea that we're going to talk about already done a day early, and that does make a difference. But I'm up for the challenge, because on the other side of that, it also gives me an opportunity to go to church on Sundays without having to rush back, because I do the 7 o'clock service anyway. So that was kind of one of the reasons. Also, in addition, I wanted to open it up where more people can have an opportunity to view the live stream. I had a couple people let me know that, look, Sunday, I can't do it on Sundays. That's my last day before I go back to work. I like to rest and refresh. So I just can't do it. But Saturday's a lot better day. It also gives the time for it to replay across the weekend. And as that's said, with that being said, you all, I want to also remind you of my works. I haven't put my works up in a while, but it's very, very important as well. And these are some works that we're using to turn around schools. Doing a 25-day contract right now in which we have done the data, we've done professional learning, community meetings, and we have moved forward now with the teacher effectiveness piece. So it's really, really important that we continue on that journey, you all. But here we got the DIP approach for educators. Yeah, if you ain't gotten that one, you need to get it. Also, a digital course that goes along with that, or very, very similar to it for those people that, not able to read, or that gives them an opportunity to hear it and see it digitally, because I know how it is with that. Then, of course, Empower Educational Communities, a guide for teacher principal collaboration. That one is endorsed by Principal Baruti Kafele, as well as Dr. Pedro Noguera. So definitely appreciate them for that. And of course, the DIP approach for student and adult success, the STL curriculum, you all. Dream with desire, initiate and invest in yourself, push past pain, and persist with purpose. 33 principles for life that help both students and adults improve, self-actualize, and reach those goals that you want to reach. And give you basically a framework. I'm big on frameworks, you all. And of course, you definitely don't want to forget the Spirit, Heart, and Soul collection of poetry, ties to my ELA and literacy pieces as well. That's the Spirit, Heart, and Soul collection, Home of the Blues, Christian poetry for the Spirit, Heart, and Soul, and then you got Dream Seeds, motivational poems for the Spirit, Heart, and Soul. So definitely appreciate all your support with all of those as well, because we got to work with each other. We got to be vessels for each other. We got to continue to support each other, put in towards each other, because that's what collaboration is. And one thing I've learned is you can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. It's going to take other people getting on board. It's going to take us rallying the troops for high performance so that we can make impact against all odds. And with that being said, I definitely want to encourage you to continue to love, learn, and lead with your heart. Continue to search for wisdom so that you can find your true purpose. And continue to be courageous so that we can drown out all fear and be who we need to be in our educational spaces and places. With love, we out here. You all have the best weekend.